Hey guys, welcome back. This is Neon. This is Clownfish TV. Happy Independence Day to all of our American viewers. We're going to talk about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and an update on the situation with the crowds. They're light. They're very light. In fact, some publications, including Fox News, are actually calling Galaxy's Edge a ghost town, right? So we've been doing a couple articles about this. I can honestly say I didn't expect it to be this bad. I really thought that initially, at least for the first few months, Galaxy's Edge, despite being based on the sequel trilogy, would be very, very busy just because, hey, there's a new ride, right? And people have been seemingly looking forward to it. But it's landed with a thud. It has landed with a thud. And even someone like myself that is an avid theme park visitor, right? Geeky and I go to theme parks a lot. We're talking like, once a month. Most of the time it is a Disney park, Disney World, Disneyland. I didn't expect this. I really didn't. I actually thought that it would play out like Pandora in Disney World, where, maybe people didn't really care for the movies that much, but they still went to Pandora because it was just, an impressive, immersive environment. And this does not seem to be the case. People just are not coming out for Galaxy's Edge and Disneyland, and I'm curious what's going to happen with Disney World. We talked about that, where some travel agents, some notable travel agents like Pete Werner at the Diz are saying that bookings are light this fall. Disney World's not, packing them in. They expected people to come in to check out Galaxy's Edge, and they're not attracting enough people. They spent $1 billion on this thing, right? $1 billion on this thing, and it's not bringing the people in. So before we get started talking about the latest with Galaxy's Edge, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Definitely helps us out. June was phenomenal for us. Thank you so much for that. And we're hoping to grow the channel and hit 100,000 maybe by the end of the year. I don't know if it's possible. But we're heading toward 50,000. So please hit that subscribe button. I'm not begging, I'm just asking. Totally your choice. Okay, so let's get started. This one is coming from Arizona Central. Disneyland Star Wars Galaxy's Edge crowds are smaller than anticipated. So for months, Disneyland officials prepared for the large crowds that would descend with the opening of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the largest and most anticipated single-themed addition in the park's history. Paths were widened, planters were narrowed, and queues were redesigned. Yeah. People don't realize it's not just Galaxy's Edge. Like, they rethought the whole park because they thought it was going to drive traffic. All in an effort to open up as much room as possible when the new land opened. Steps were taken to control access, ensuring the 14-acre Blackspire outpost would not burst at the seams. Yet crowds have been lighter than anticipated since Galaxy's Edge opened to all visitors on June 24th. The virtual queue, which park officials created to handle the high demand, has been triggered only a handful of times, typically in the morning. Otherwise, Galaxy's Edge has been open with no limits, allowing guests to come and go as they please. Demand for the only ride has also been manageable. Waits for Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run have been between 30 and 60 minutes, spiking to 90 minutes at times. Far shorter than the 2 to 3 hour waits when Radiator Springs Racers opened in Cars Land in 2012. Yeah. So we were in Disneyland last year, this exact week. Well, actually, no, it was the end of June. We were there the end of June last year. We waited over 60 minutes to get on Small World. We waited over 60 minutes to get on Pirates of the Caribbean, right? It was a 2-hour wait for the Incredicoaster. This is bad. This is bad in the middle of summer for any e-ticket attraction to only have a 30 to 60 minute wait. Even 90 minutes, that's nothing. Do you know what the wait time is in Pandora and Disney World for Flight of Passage? It's actually topped 4 hours. In Universal, the Hagrid coaster currently is experiencing a 10-hour wait. 10 hours for not that impressive of a roller coaster, right? So this is not a good look for Disney, not with the $1 billion they sunk into Galaxy's Edge. Attendance has been relatively light throughout the rest of the park. Waits for Haunted Mansion Pirates have typically been 20 to 30 minutes. Again, we were there last year at this time, and it was busy. Roughly half of what might be expected this time of year. This is true. Shorter lines have also been seen for Matterhorn and Big Thunder Mountain. There are deals for annual pass holders. Park officials have made a few moves that may be a reaction to fewer guests. Yeah, Disney never comments on crowd sizes. They don't want to look like they're failing. It's making a bring your friends offer. The Main Street Electrical Parade is coming back. We got to pull out a favorite to bring people into the park. I mean, when would, in what other case would a freaking 40-year-old parade, a 40-year-old parade featuring Pete's Dragon, which very few people other than Disney diehards care about, in what world would that actually pull in more people than Star Wars? Like, Disney has no concept. They have no awareness, no self-awareness of how badly the Star Wars brand is damaged. They have no idea. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about why that might be the case as I go through this other article. So let's go to the Fox News article. Guests claim Disneyland feels empty after opening of Star Wars Land. This place is a ghost town, says one visitor. I mean, Disney has tried to spin this as being like the second coming of Disneyland. They said it's one of the most anticipated theme park openings since Disneyland itself. Reminder, the Hagrid coaster in Orlando has a 10-hour wait, and very few people really care that much about Harry Potter now, save for the diehard Potter fans. 10-hour wait. The Falcon's basically a walk-on. 30 to 60 minutes in the summer in Disneyland, it's basically a walk-on. So the new land based off Star Wars opened on May 31st, but guests had to make reservations. So the Hollywood Reporter reported that within an hour of opening, Galaxy's Edge had reached capacity on opening day. Since the opening, however, guests have noticed a significant decrease in waiting time. Disney's California Adventure vice president said the resort had not seen wait times this low in decades. Decades, people. Like, this is bad. Like, you don't understand how bad this actually is. Adventureland, 10-minute wait for Indiana Jones, 5 minutes for Jungle Cruise. So it's not just Star Wars. Like, Disney counted its chickens before they were hatched. They bet everything on Black Spire Outpost, and it's actually hurt the rest of the park. This is really unusual for Disney. Look at this. It's empty. They're talking about the pass holders being blocked out for large chunks of the summer. Yeah, that might be part of it. That's not everything. So in a statement to Fox News, Disney said, "We're incredibly focused on delivering a great guest experience for the opening of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. This land has added 20% more capacity to Disneyland. And with all the new offerings, advanced planning, and innovative technology has resulted in incredible feedback and satisfaction, but not people." They said another possibility is people were afraid of the massive crowds. No, if you go to Disneyland in the summer, you know it's going to be crowded. So, no, that's not what's going on. So let me tell you a little bit about what we know of Disney culture, because this kind of ties into everything. And this is kind of like the unified theory of everything when it comes to Disney. Having worked in and around the Disney parks as long as Geeky and I have, we've met a lot of people within the Walt Disney Company. We've had a lot of conversations with people within the Walt Disney Company. And, you know, I had a conversation a couple months back with someone who was talking about Disney culture, right? What it's like working for the Walt Disney Company, what it's like when they get feedback and how they deal with that feedback. And this particular conversation was interesting because I've heard variations of it before, but I never heard it put quite like this, where basically with Disney, if you're going to break some bad news during a meeting, you have to offset the bad news with a positive. So basically, Disney doesn't want to hear straight up bad news. They never want to hear bad news. And you can see this in their press releases too. This is very like, okay, even though the park, the attendance is horrible right now, the feedback and guest satisfaction is high. Again, they're offsetting the negative. Well, hey, good news. Everybody's happy because they can just walk on to whatever ride they want to walk on to. But it's bad news for the bean counters because they spent $1 billion on Galaxy's Edge. That is how much Epcot cost. Now, I'm not sure off the top of my head if it's $1 billion per park, if they spend $1 billion on Disney Worlds and $1 billion on Disneylands. They were built, simultaneously. But $1 billion for a theme park edition that people don't seem to give a shit about. after they bought Fox, after they went in the hole to start their streaming service, after they've had a couple of box office misfires. You know, this is not a good look. And I am a Disney stockholder, so I'm like looking at this like, oh shit, this isn't good. And when you've got people out there saying that bookings are light in the fall, this isn't good. But I think a lot of the problem is Disney does not want to hear anything negative. Disney is basically sunshine and kittens. They tell each other that things are fine when they're clearly not fine. And you can never be brutally honest, you know, until it's too late. I think Disney is brutally honest, you know, but by the time they get to that realization, it's too late. Disney needed to be brutally honest with itself where people were at with the Star Wars franchise, and they have not been. They kept ignoring it. They dismissed Solo as being a one-off. They sort of just waved their hands at all the toys that weren't selling. And now we've got Galaxy's Edge not doing very well. And we've got Episode 9 coming out. And people really aren't that excited about it. Not like they were The Force Awakens and even The Last Jedi until they saw it. And you really can trace a lot of it back to not just The Last Jedi, but Lucasfilm and Disney's dismissive attitude toward the fans and insisting that people have to like their Star Wars, Disney Star Wars, the sequel trilogy. You know, we said before in a previous video, if Black Spire Outpost had been Mos Eisley, if it had been Mos Eisley, the Mos Eisley Cantina, and we had Dewbacks, and we had Stormtroopers, and we had all these crazy aliens, and it looked like the original trilogy, and they banked on the original trilogy that everybody loves. Every Star Wars fan loves the, that's the one thing Star Wars fans can agree on, is everybody loves the original trilogy. The prequels and the sequels and the TV shows are debatable, but everybody loves the original trilogy. If I was going to spend $1 billion, I would spend $1 billion building something from the original trilogy. And they haven't done that. They've basically given people a Star Wars that a lot of folks don't like or don't recognize. They don't have a nostalgic connection to it because it's only been around for like 5 years. So, you know, this is a problem. This is a huge problem. You know, will it get better? Well, only one of the rides are open, so it's possible that it will get better in the next few months. But right now, it's pretty dire. So I don't know what Disney's going to do, how they're going to address it. I'm really curious to see what the difference is going to be between Walt Disney World and Disneyland. But I can tell you, as someone who's gone to both parks often, it's not like they don't like Star Wars in Disneyland. In Disneyland, Star Tours and Hyperspace Mountain always have crazy long lines. So they do like Star Wars in Disneyland. That's not the problem. Whereas in Disney World and Hollywood Studios, Star Tours is usually a walk-on. So I'm actually thinking if Galaxy's Edge is going to be a bigger deal and it's going to pack the people in, it's more likely to do that in Disneyland. So I don't know how it's going to play out in Disney World. Again, I think it'll be busy initially, but even Disney was disappointed with Toy Story Land. And Toy Story Land is always what I would consider crowded, but most of that crowd is people getting in line for the Slinky Dog Dash coaster. So, you know, if Disney is disappointed in Toy Story Land, which I consider pretty crowded, they're horribly disappointed in Galaxy's Edge, because believe me, Galaxy's Edge costs 100 times as much as Toy Story Land. So this is a bad look for them. I'm sure they're panicking right now. I don't know what's going to happen, but you know what? I feel like they have nobody to blame but themselves, because the writing has been on the wall for at least a year, 2 years, that people are not having the same warm, fuzzy feelings about Star Wars that they did before the sequel trilogy started. So that is my opinion. I do have a good friend of ours, Aaron Sparrow. He went out there today. I think he was out there today or yesterday, and he said it wasn't busy at all. So I don't know. You know, we will probably wait until the East Coast one opens to check it out. I'm in no hurry. I'm not going to fly out to California to go see the shit show. I mean, that's the truth. And I love Disney parks, but I don't care enough to fly out, especially since we're getting one here. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. This has been Neon. I'll talk later. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.